Hi, Mark Gilbert here. Thanks for clicking in. This video is entitled The Power of Directed Emotions. Can you actually use your emotions to create good in your life? Or are they something that simply control you, whether you want them to or not? We're going to be looking at those topics over the next few minutes in this video, which continues our series looking at individual chapters in the book, The Basic Ideas of Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. Like the other videos in this series, each video stands alone. We'll be covering this topic in detail, and you can benefit from listening to it without watching the other videos. However, if it does speak to you, you might want to check out the other videos in the playlist on our YouTube channel. What I want to do is cover the three main points that I believe Holmes makes in this chapter, add a little bit of my commentary, and then we'll talk about what Holmes says we can do to have power over our emotions to create the life that we want. The first point Holmes makes in this chapter is that the universal mind in which we are living and moving and having our very existence, and of which our mind is a part of, is always creating the universe and our experiences through our thoughts, but that our thoughts are often overridden by our emotions. His second point is that we can override our emotions by creating a state of calm, peacefulness in our lives, a state of expectancy, a state of where we see the good and are expecting the good in our lives. The third point Holmes makes in this chapter is to get to that state of peacefulness, that state of expectancy of the good, we must overcome years of conditioning that said we're not good enough and we're not worthy of a good life. Holmes also goes on in the chapter to outline some practical steps that we can take for overcoming our conditioning and create that sense of peacefulness, that expectancy of the good that will allow us to direct our emotions. Before we get to the practical steps that Holmes outlines, I'd like to divert into a little bit of commentary for a moment. Why do we have emotions? If you go look out at the internet and do a little bit of research about this topic, what you'll discover is there's not really one central idea as to why people think that humans developed the power of emotions. There's theological reasons for it, there are evolutionary reasons for it, there are psychological reasons for it, social reasons for it, etc. There's a lot of therapies that are built around the fact that we have emotions. But if you look at why we have emotions, no one consistent explanation arises. I think the evolutionary theories make some good sense, that we have developed, say, some negative emotions like fear and worry because they highlight a circumstance that might be something that's detrimental to us. Hence, a little bit of fear emotion might make us more alert in a moment, and that alertness might stop some potential attack on us. So maybe it's a survival mechanism through some emotions. But there's also social reasons. A lot of people say that from an evolutionary standpoint, that we've developed emotions so that we can live in social settings. Certainly the power of affinity and care for one another, the power of love that calls us to direct us into connecting with others, allows us to better fit into a social situation with other humans. And the better that we can fit socially with them, the better we're going to be able to protect ourselves through the group and also build and enhance our lives through the power of the collective group that we're in. So even though there's a lot of theories about why emotions exist in humans, I think we can all agree on the fact that emotions do add a degree of depth and flavor and color to this human experience. Our experience in this third dimensional realm as human beings would be much different if we did not have emotions. Imagine what it would be like if you never felt love. Imagine what it would be like if you looked out at the ocean or a beautiful sunset over the mountains or some other nature setting that gives rise to positive emotions in you, and you just had a flat effect that you looked at it and said, okay, and there was no emotional response at all. I think you can see there's a distinct difference in our experience when there's a pattern of emotions that are attached to them to when there is no emotion at all. Yes, it's true, some of the negative emotions we experience, like anger that boil up, unexpectedly, or the grief that we feel at the loss of a loved one, are painful, but even those painful experiences give a depth to this human experience and make it more meaningful for us. I think bottom line for me is we can look at emotions as a gift to us. They're a gift because they enhance this human experience. Yes, we might not want or enjoy the negative emotions, but they often lead to growth and learning and expansion of our life and take us in new directions. So even the negative emotions ultimately give us gifts, even though we may not enjoy them at the moment that we're experiencing them. So that brings us to the second question, which is, can we control our emotions? After all, that's what Holmes is calling us to do through the power of directed emotions, and that is to find some way to get into a peaceful state by overcoming our early year conditioning. Do you believe that you can control your emotions? We've all probably got a lot of experience where something happened and we got out of control. Many people believe they can't control their emotions. I know that sometimes I'm in a peaceful state and somebody can do something to me and I go from 0 peaceful to 100 anger just like that. And I'm disappointed in myself in those moments. But what it does is it offers me an opportunity to learn and grow and maybe not get so mad the next time. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't have healthy boundaries when people do things that are negative to us. But at the same time, there are opportunities throughout our lives to say, where can I be more calm and peaceful in the moment? So can we control our emotions? My own evidence in my own life says yes, we can. And there are psychotherapies employed in the field of psychology that are designed to actually assist in changing emotions. One psychotherapy that is designed to change people's emotions is called rational emotive behavioral therapy. I'm not an expert in it, but when I read about it, it sounds a lot like what's taught in our Science of Mind classes when they teach how we can use the power of directed emotions. What this behavioral therapy offers is a 3-step process that says, when you recognize you have an emotion around a particular circumstance, to look at what is the belief that you're holding about it. And then secondly, to dispute that belief, to recognize that it's irrational in some way. And third is to replace it with a new belief. It's very similar to what we do in our New Thought classes, where we take ourselves into looking at the emotions that are existing in our lives and trying to replace those emotions by changing the beliefs that are at the underlying reason for giving rise to the emotions in the first place. Give you a quick example. A lot of times when I'm driving in traffic, I used to believe that people were in competition with me, that they wanted to get ahead of me or cut me off. And if people did something to me rudely in traffic, I had a belief that I was competing with them and that I wasn't going to let them get ahead of me, and then I would get angry about it. And so there was this constant get cut off, get angry, act mad towards them. Over time, I started replacing that with a different belief that said, okay, maybe they're in a hurry. Maybe that's the way they drive. It's not about me. I started changing my beliefs about what was giving rise to the emotions, and that allowed me to change how I saw those circumstances. Now, very rarely do I get cut off in traffic and get mad about it, simply because I've been able to change the underlying belief about what I thought about those circumstances to begin with. Every situation in our life is one that gives us an opportunity to stop telling us stories that we told ourselves for years. That is, to look at what our conditioning was, as Holmes described, and to replace that conditioning with a different outlook on life. So let's get back to what Holmes said were some practical steps that we could use to replace our old conditioning and to develop that sense of peaceful, calm expectancy so that we can expect the good and see it in our lives. The very first thing he mentions is the aspect of forgiving ourselves. Forgiving ourselves. What do we mean by forgiving ourselves? Well, what Holmes says is that we are born into this life and are conditioned to blame ourselves with this constant inner critic. It's criticizing everything that we do and every one of our actions. And so this constant critic that we carry around in our lives, we need to forgive ourselves for all the actions and things that it blames us for, and recognize and see that we really are a good and worthy person. The second practical step that Holmes offers to us is to let go of any sense of inferiority that we might have. And he couples that with letting go of a sense of superiority. You know, I wrote a blog about this many years ago, and I'll link to that in the program notes below. But the basic thing is that whenever we feel that ourselves are inferior to others, or if we feel ourselves are superior to others, what we're doing is dividing ourselves from others. We're comparing ourselves to other people in a way that either side of the coin, be it inferiority or superiority, we're setting ourselves up as being separate and apart from other human beings. And that leads us to an emotional state that's counterproductive to getting a state of peacefulness. The third practical step that Holmes offers us is to stop listening to that inner critic. Whenever that little voice comes up in our minds that is criticizing us, just say, there that voice is again, let's move off of that. And the fourth practical step that Holmes gives us is to not only stop listening to that inner critic, but to replace that voice with your own voice of praise for who you are, praise for any time that you've acted in a way that is in alignment with the direction that you want to go. Look at how you are making good steps, even if they're small baby steps, for improving your life and creating the life that you want. And when you see those steps, praise yourself. Instead of knocking yourself for not getting 100 on the test, praise yourself for getting 80, whatever that test is in life. Know that the steps that you've made that are positive in the direction you want to go are good steps, and they're to be acknowledged. The more you see the good outlining in your life and out picturing in your life, the more you're going to manifest that by redirecting your emotions to constantly expecting the good and seeing the good. So there you have it, the power of directed emotions. Can you change your life today to get control of your emotions and create the life you want? I know that you can. I hope this has been helpful. Till next time. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. There's a similar video right here next to my face if you want to click on it. Also, if you want to get notifications of future videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button on the bottom left-hand corner. If you'd like to contact me, email me at the address on the screen or drop me a comment in the comment field below on YouTube. Thanks.